Hi, Laura, and welcome to the Rapid Insights podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Dean.
Awesome. So, thanks for being here. So, Laura, you've worked in B2B marketing for 17 years now. Great experience in
Yeah.
the cybersecurity sector. You've worked at Exclusive Networks, Mimecast, and now at CultureAI. So, it's really good to have you on the podcast. Let's get into it. So,
Cool.
your career's always had a firm footing in marketing. So, I'm really keen to understand why that as an industry and um, why cybersecurity.
Yeah, so I mean, with marketing, like it goes back actually to when I was doing work experience at school, and I went and did some work experience in a business, and they put me in the accounts department, and I enjoyed it, but I was chatting to like some of the other people that was working in the business about what their job was and what it entailed, and I actually met the head of marketing at the time. I was only about 15, I think. And I remember she was telling me like what her and her team did. And it just resonated with me. And I thought, oh, that sounds really exciting. And that's kind of where it went, really. I kept it very general. Like I didn't do marketing at university. I did English literature because it was something that I enjoyed, and I always think that you should stick to what you enjoy. But yes, came straight out of uni and straight away went for a marketing role, and I guess the rest is history in that front.
Yeah. It's interesting actually because a lot of the people that we've had on the podcast are kind of a similar vein, really. Sort of, I
Mm.
don't want to sort of use the term fall into it almost, but it was a case of it's not like, when you get asked when you're younger, what do you want to be when you grow
Yeah.
up? Nobody said, oh, I was asked that. They've just kind of fallen into it. But I think it's all the sort of things they kind of learned along the way, and everybody's got a really good
Mm.
passion for it. It's really good talking about things like empathy and understanding, sort
Yeah.
of human behavior, these sort of things, which is great.
Mm.
So, just in terms of, 'cause I guess, kind of fine tuning, marketing is a big industry, but specifically in sort of cybersecurity,
Yeah.
how do you kind of sort of stay updated on, the latest sort of cybersecurity threats? Is that something that you think about within what you do and the sort of the threats and the trends, just to kind of ensure your messaging is relevant, or is it kind of because we know it's not a one size fits all, right? Because it's different
Mm.
industries,
Mm.
different responses, but we're still dealing with human beings at the end of the day. How do you kind of does that come into play in terms of the latest threats and trends? Do you kind of to kind of stay relevant?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to. I think there's obviously like we've all got a limit around like you could spend your entire working week researching these things, reading different articles, different reports and things like that. So there's obviously like that fine balance between doing that research and actually like putting it into practice. But I think absolutely we have to. I think for me, like one of the most effective ways of staying like in front of and up to date with what's happening from a threat perspective is just leaning in on people that like are experts in that field. So like key researchers, obviously like key research reports, down to little things like I'll have like Google alerts set up
Yeah.
for like different like key terms and things, so that straight away in the morning I can just come in, have a quick glance, see if there's anything that perhaps that stands out to me or that's in our space. And so it's really like a multitude of things. But yeah, it's so important, I think, because we as marketers who are communicating to people that are living this day in day out from a threat landscape perspective, we need to understand what their challenges are so that we can, as you said, sort of like speak to them in the right language and and really like solve the problems that they've got.
That's it, and it's constantly changing, isn't it? You can get really
Yeah.
wrapped up in the amount of
So fast paced. But that's the
yeah,
thing I think we all love about it as well in this industry.
definitely. And I guess on that then, so in terms of educating clients, because we've got to be that trusted advisor, and that's why they
Yep.
come, they rely on us. We've got kind of responsibility as well. What do you think is kind of the biggest challenge in sort of educating clients about complex security topics? Because a lot of organizations, and I know from in the past, they don't necessarily have that sort of skills in-house, but they do need the
Yeah.
solutions to help. Not everybody's got a cybersecurity team of 50, 60 people working on it or something like
Mm.
that. So, they're perhaps kind of relying on you and sort of outsourcing that skill set, I guess, really. What do you think is kind of the biggest challenge around that?
I think it's sort of like I think that there's two challenges. I think there's one which is really trying to make sure that you are communicating to everybody in a way that, you know, is human and that they can, you know, that they can fully relate to. I think, you know, for certainly for like the work that we do here, like thought leadership's like a massive component. I think it goes so far and it supports people in their knowledge and their own learning and development, but it also, you know, it shares statistics and shares data and primary research that into things that they perhaps have not read before or they're perhaps not as aware of. And I think, you know, the challenge is definitely to kind of like pull all that together and make sure that you're sort of putting it in the right format that people can, you know, read it in and consume it in a quick way, because everybody's obviously so busy as well, but also putting it in the right places so that, you know, they're going to see it at the right time that suits them.
Yeah, no, that's exactly, it's really good, really good golden nuggets there with that. And in terms
Yeah.
of kind of the strong looking at things from, because we get kind of different answers to this on the podcast. I'm always really keen to get everybody's take on it. So in terms of sort of building and maintaining a strong brand identity in a competitive market, because there's lots of people out there doing different things and it's growing all the time, especially in cybersecurity. So can you kind of discuss any methods you'd use to sort of differentiate your brand? And then that's kind of the first part of the question. The second is probably pertinent to what you guys do at Culture AI. So which sort of marketing channels are you seeing that are proving most effective at the minute? Because there's so many different things. Love to get onto AI as well. What are your kind of thoughts on that many questions in one there?
Yeah, so I think like with regards to like, you know, the channels and stuff, I think, you know, we're asked this quite a lot. Like we're asked this, not just like, I'm not just asked this like from internally, like within my team and our leadership, but also like with our channel partners as well, you know, because obviously they're trying to generate the leads in the prospects, and you know, and so it's always like whenever I speak to a peer, a marketing peer, it's always like, what's working for you and what's working for you? So it is a question that I get asked quite a lot, and I think, you know, my response is, and I don't know how helpful this will be to the listeners, but it is genuinely a little bit of everything. Like, I think, you know, one of the things that I've always maintained is that the multi-touch approach is actually the most effective. And we've absolutely like sort of seen that even in recent times here at Culture AI. You know, it's not just about delivering an end-to-end campaign and sort of like ticking that box and saying, okay, yeah, we did that. We created this great piece of content. We syndicated it, we did some LinkedIn ads, you know, we emailed it out to everybody and we did a webinar, and then that's it. Okay, we'll move on then to the
Yeah.
next campaign. It's absolutely not about that. What I sort of say is that, you know, it's that continuous, so it's like spreading it as far and wide as you can across a multitude of channels, because typically, you know, people need to see and engage with your content multiple times before, you know, they're in a position where they think, you know, oh, actually I want to learn more, or I want to contact this company. So for me, it's like making sure that you are constantly in the right places, whether that's using like third-party syndication services to sort of get really targeted around your specific target audience, or, you know, using an ABM method through LinkedIn or retargeting ads. You know, we tend to make sure that we kind of cover all the bases, and events are also a great, I think, in the cyber industry. I think, you know, the events that we are sort of able to join and attend and also like run and host ourselves are always super successful. And I think, you know, you can't ever sort of like underestimate the power of that sort of in-person engagement as well.
Definitely. And I think you probably hit the nail on the head there, which is along my kind of mindset that there is no magic bullet with this.
No.
You know, we wouldn't be doing what we do now if there was a magic bullet. We'd probably be those people on LinkedIn that are constantly selling sales courses, but we're not talking about that today. So just in terms of there's no magic bullet, and we could try, you know, it's all about the lead generation, is it right? Getting the new business in and driving revenue and things. So, and having spent sort of 20 years in sales myself, I know the challenges that salespeople can put on marketing teams. You may have seen this. I'm sure you probably have throughout your career. How do you kind of perceive that relationship between sales and marketing? Do you see that it's quite strained, or is it combined? What's it like where you work? And is there kind of
It's like,
any tips to kind of work together, I guess?
yeah, I mean, for me, like you have to be seen like it's a togetherness thing, as
Hmm.
far as I'm concerned. And it sounds like, it might sound a bit cliche, but it's absolutely like what works. Like, certainly at the moment, like with the sales leader that I work with, we've got shared goals. So like we sit down weekly and his goals are my goals,
That's good.
albeit that, what underpins his goals are slightly, obviously very different tactics to what underpin my goals. But ultimately, like we've got 4 shared goals that we as a collaborative teams are working towards. And I think, because of that, it definitely brings us together. I think, we at CultureAI are extremely lucky in the sense that, we are a very collaborative team. But I think for me, like, even if I think back to like some of the other businesses that I've worked in, I think you just need to form that partnership. And sometimes, like, I know that like there's challenges around that, but I think as long as everybody's aligned in that goal and there's full transparency as well, I think, from a marketing leadership perspective, I've always kind of like made sure that the sales leaders and the sales functions are very aware. I've got a full transparency of what's coming up, what's going on. There's never any surprises like, oh, I didn't know we were doing that, or
Yeah.
I've only just found out that we're hosting this, or that I need to invite people to this. For me, like, transparency and sort of lead time is key, so I always make sure like a quarter in advance all of the sales team knows what's coming up, key dates, that asks on them. And I think they just appreciate that, and I think that drives the relationship as well.
Brilliant. And then, Laura, final question. If someone was starting out in your career journey today, or
Yeah.
in the same shoes, what advice would you give them? It can be one or many tips or
Yeah,
anything you think.
I do get asked this a lot, actually, and I feel like I always give the same answer, but I'll give it to you as well. So the thing that springs to mind straight away for me, like, because I obviously started out in marketing when marketing was quite general. So we, having specific roles around like digital marketing or social media marketing, I think came in just as I sort of like started out in my career. And I feel extremely lucky that I was able to have an extremely varied role and continue to do so throughout my career. And so, like, I would just say to somebody, and I do say this to people, is just try and keep it varied for as long as you can, because I think you need to test and experience all the different elements, whether it be like field marketing, channel marketing, digital marketing,
Okay.
social media marketing, and find out like what you enjoy the most after you've tried it all. And I think that's something that's really great in our industry as well, that it is so varied. And I think,
Yeah.
I certainly enjoy the variety that all my roles have provided me with. And I think it's important that people also experience that to then really understand where they feel that they would be best placed.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Getting a taste of absolutely everything,
Yeah,
then you'll know. And you only do that by getting those experiences kind of along the way, don't you? So
yeah.
I really like that answer. Thank you very much, Laura. So that brings us to the end of the Rapid Insights podcast. Short and sweet. Thank you for joining us, Laura. Really appreciate your
No,
time.
thank you, Dean. It's been great.